So again, cash flow management, collect, right? So when we think about liquidation, all right, the first thing you have to do is become cash flow, what I would call cash flow heavy, right? So you want to have more cash flow to be able to play from in your reserve. And so you have to collect. And so the interesting thing is while you're playing the role of the supplier, okay, you're trying to collect from your customers, and at the same time, you're trying to slow down your payment side to your suppliers, okay? And so this might feel a little bit of like you know, a catch-22, but that's what we need to do. So you need to be able to collect payments from your customers, okay, and in the same way negotiate payment. And so increasing cash flow is the name of the game here. You have to also consider invoice factoring, okay? So you can sell your invoices. And so if you're in a service industry and you have invoices piling up and you're starting to see that you're in arrears, you could sell those invoices to a service for collection and they'll pay you, a factored discounted amount of the face value of those invoices. And so if you really need cash to continue operating, that's an alternative. You can basically sell your accounts receivable to a third party for a lump sum payment. That actually makes a lot of sense sometimes, especially if you're spending too much time trying to collect, and you would be better served by spending that time adapting your business to the new environment. Again, the goal is a cash-to-cash cycle time of less than 45 days. That's the small business industry standard. And so, again, we have this issue of most small businesses have 27 days of cash on hand. And you want to be able to take your money and as soon as you get a payment from a customer, convert that into a purchase from a supplier, mark it up, and then convert that back into another sale to a customer in under 45 days. If you're using your cash and converting it into another transaction that generates profit, then your cash to in 45 days or less, then you're on track with industry standards for cash flow. All right. And so we call this a cash to cash cycle time. The time that it takes from you to take the profit from a sale, invest it back into your supply chain, receive the product, mark it up, and sell it, and convert that again into a profit. This is cash to cash cycle time. And really, this is the closed loop of your business. All right, is this cash to cash cycle time. So liquidation again. You can liquidate by removing excess inventory or obsolete inventory, discontinued stock, any of that inventory or stock that you have that isn't moving, okay? You can liquidate. And so one thing you can do is you can look in your system and look at the products or services that you've sold over the last 3 to 6 months, all right? Especially the items that are not selling due to this coronavirus environment. And if you can liquidate those products or sell them online or somehow acquire cash for any of those items, that's a good strategy because those are slow movers. Okay, so you can look at the number of sales that you've had for different products and look at the bottom 10 to 20% of the list and just take them out of inventory and liquidate. Okay, that can get you some money. You can also use liquidation as a marketplace for clearing out old products, but also you can acquire new products. And so while you're liquidating old products that don't sell, there are new demands that you may not have been aware of before COVID. Okay. And there are a lot of different markets for liquidation. And so you can actually find a lot of the supply side goods at discounted rates through liquidation outlets, auctions, warehouses, and other overstock type of platforms that you can buy those products from. So while you're liquidating up your bottom 10 to 20% of your inventory because it's not selling, also be looking at opportunities in open markets for liquidated items that you can add that you can sell. Okay, so this is all about adjusting the supply and demand match of what's available in the market to what your customers want. So again, if you're used to doing your business as usual, this requires that you adapt your routines to think about what products are available that you can afford to provide customers that they want. Again, this is especially helpful if you're moving to an online model, okay? So if right now you have a lot of overhead because you have inventory management, inventory to manage, warehouse space, and your office is located in this warehouse, well, if you're working remotely, that's a lot of open space that's not being utilized, okay? And that inventory, if it's not being sold, it's not making money either. And so it's just costing. So if you can downsize your warehouse and then liquidate some of that inventory to right size your inventory for the customers you have, that's going to prevent that slow drip of costs tied to overhead, like your rent and your leasing space for the warehouse and the cost of capital to run the warehouse, okay? And in fact, a lot of small businesses have been using like public storage and alternative forms of storage for their inventory because there are a lot of tools now to make managing inventory much easier. You don't need a large warehouse anymore to do business in a lot of industries. And so what I would like to do now is just to take 10 minutes and have a breakout session on these questions. How have you adapted to irregular cash flows to save money, more effectively spend, and to continue operations? And I want to have us talk about this for maybe 5 or 7 minutes.
I would like to hear if there are people on here that have truly made some decisions about this and how you've gone about doing it, as well as don't be afraid to also just express a question about all of this as well. It doesn't have to be something miraculous that you did. But I just want to say that working with a lot of small businesses, sometimes people forget that inventory is actually cash sitting on shelves. And sometimes they get a little distracted by having to sell it for less than what they intended. But it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. Oftentimes in time of crisis, some money is better than no money. And that money is just sitting on a shelf. So I encourage people to really think about what's sitting on the shelf right now in inventory.
This is Heather.
Hi.
Good morning. So I'm primarily service-based, but along the same lines, if I'm not utilizing my skill set, I'm not making money.
Yeah.
So when the pandemic hit, I work in the construction industry. So when the pandemic hit, there was a lot of delays on construction projects starting, and some of them just stopped for a while. So I was kind of at a standstill. So during that time, I assisted several small businesses with their bookkeeping. I started it off as pro bono because I empathize with other small businesses. And I told them I don't expect anything. I'm just helping. We're all stressed. At least going forward, you'll have clean books and the knowledge to take care of them. And since the pandemic, since we were released from quarantine, I don't focus on bookkeeping as part of my business model, but some of those people have sent clients my way. So,
and are those clients for the other part of your business or for bookkeeping?
Both.
Okay.
But for the main part of mostly for the main part of my business. But there are some that are for bookkeeping. I am qualified to do bookkeeping. It's just not something that I was focusing on. So I thought that was nice.
So you guys found an alternate stream of income or revenue.
Correct. Yeah. And oddly enough, it was one that I was contemplating, but I hadn't done anything with. I have a lot of friends and colleagues that are small business owners, and they were so upset about this. And they said, I don't know how long I can last. And I was like, well, look at these reports. And they said, my stuff is messed up. I was like, well, let's fix that. So, and then they went from there.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's really good strategy too, because you were consultative. So you looked at true service sector, business person, proactive, looking at the problem, and trying to looking at it from a solution-based perspective, offering advice, and then that leads to a relationship, and through the relationship, there's some positive interaction, and that dovetails into, improving your customer base and your business. Exactly. Right. So if you have these skills, and so we're operationalized, we're driven by behaviors. And so if you get into a routine and that you believe that your business is the sum total of the processes and activities that you do on a regular basis, well, then you're conditioned. And so, as soon as you can start to look at the bigger picture, we're all in this together. How can I help? What am I good at? How can I rely on my strengths? And you adapt that part of your business to see that everybody is a customer. Then you're using relationship-based, a consultative relationship-based type of business model. And that's going to, hopefully result in, stronger operations and stronger relationships going forward. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was great. It helped because I was frustrated and I was sad because I wasn't making any money. And I told them, what you're giving me is the opportunity to help, and it makes me feel good. When we were quarantined, I was stressed. I was like, so this makes me happy. So I told them, I was like, I'm getting stuff out of it. It may not be money, but so it worked out. I liked it. It was a good use of my time, even if I wasn't being paid.
No,
let's hear from Jeffrey. Jeffrey has something to contribute.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Henningsen, and I'm a caterer in Houston, Texas. And I've been really enjoying these seminars. But as a caterer, my specialty is gatherings with large groups of people. Yeah. Since the pandemic, I've almost become illegal. And what we had to do is we were used to catering large events of 300, 500, 800 people at a crack. And so we always had a lot of napkins, disposables, and everything needed for that particular end of our industry. Well, when the pandemic hit, I lost 100% of all my bookings from March through the end of the year.
Wow.
Even weddings. Weddings have been moved to 2021, but they still don't pay because they're not ready to. So we took that opportunity to sell some of our disposables to other restaurants out there, because all of a sudden the need for those people to have disposables, to-go containers, et cetera, was far greater than what the supply chain could service. So we did do a little bit of that. The other thing that we've done is I've got a kitchen. I've got a staff. Unfortunately, they're not working. They weren't working, but we are beginning, and hopefully we'll be launching a ghost kitchen in November. And in case you guys don't know what a ghost kitchen is, it's basically you're starting a restaurant, but guess what? Your waiters and waitresses are DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub. Mm-hmm. So we've worked with our distributor, our large box distributor, US Foods, and we've come up with a menu, and we will be launching this hopefully before Thanksgiving.
That's amazing.
That should offer a new revenue stream that we've never had before, because we're always doing large scale type of menus and feedings. Now we're going to small. So I used to have a staff of 15 to 20 people. I currently have 4.
Right.
So and hopefully get back to the
real life adaptation. Good for you. Thank you for sharing that, Jeffrey. That's really amazing, and we certainly wish you luck in all of that.
Well, thanks. If you guys can, order for delivery in Kansas City, that'd be great.
Where are you at? You said you're in
Houston.
You're in Houston?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I got connected through this program with my sister. She works for the Missouri Chamber of Commerce.
Cool.
Oh, Awesome.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of adaptation with the distributed model for food delivery. And so, your adaptations are good. That's timely. I think there's a lot of opportunity for delivering services, using those platforms, DoorDash, Grubhub, Postmates type services, Uber Eats, and people are willing to pay for it. I'm the first person to say that I've ordered more in delivery since COVID than I have my entire life. I mean, even through college. And so it's primarily just because it's safe and easy. And so that is an actual behavioral shift that was coming online before COVID. And this basically just made that more prevalent. Okay. So that digitalization, that actual business process of delivering food was taking over already. And COVID basically was the tipping point to make sure that was here to stay. So it's good that you're adapting to that type of environment.
The unfortunate thing, though, however, with the delivery is many delivery people. I actually have a husband who is an Uber driver. And he says that there are a lot of Uber drivers not willing to go out there and drive because of, contracting the virus.
Oh, really?
There is some challenges with enough of a workforce.
Yeah. That's definitely true. And the price point for the delivery service, of course, is more. And
Correct.
the question about how much of that share of the pricing is going to the business owner and the service.
Yeah.
I think we would all agree that the business owners probably deserve more of the share of the delivery part of the business, in my opinion. So,
Tony, we have one more comment that was placed in the chat. This comes from Katie. She says, we negotiated upfront payments from current customers for materials to be shipped later for small discounts. These are large customers with annual contracts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you're willing to, for example, manage the inventory, and I think we'll talk about that too. If you're able to manage the inventory for your customer and they're willing to pay for it up front for a discount, that's a standard business practice that most larger businesses adhere to. They'll, contract for hundreds of thousands of goods and won't take ownership of it until they actually see it used in assembly on a manufactured product or something else. And so, again, this is all cash flow. And when you accrue that value in your cash flow, or when that money is coming in or when it's going out, and tracking that. Good point. Yeah, you can definitely get discounts by negotiating the total sum value of the contract, and then determine when you're going to phase the deliveries. Good.